I'm sorry, we're in Christmas, and so it's like,
Sure time. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is 7 o'clock on Thursday, January 4th. Welcome to Lexington City Council meeting. Glad you all are here. Before I call the meeting to order, would invite anybody who would like to speak to council this evening during citizens' remarks to be sure to sign up on our sign-up sheet over there. And with that, I will call the meeting to order. And I invite you all to please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much. I do want to recognize Mr. Ziegler indicated that he is under the weather and will not be joining us this evening. His presence will be missed. Next item on the agenda is consideration of the agenda. I'm not aware of any changes or corrections. And if there are none, we will adopt the agenda as presented and move straight into public hearings. And I'll call on Arnie to introduce item 6.1.
Can we, we have to recuse ourselves, or I do. In accordance with Virginia Code 2.2-3122A and 3115F, I declare that I have a personal interest in the city of Lexington, City Council's consideration of Washington Lee University's conditional use permit application for the Lindley Center for Student Wellness that disqualifies me from participating in the transaction. My personal interest relates to my husband's employment with Washington Lee University, 204 West Washington Street, Lexington, Virginia, 24450. The transaction at issue relates to the real estate located on tax map number NM19. My personal interest requires my disqualification because the transaction has applications solely to the business or property in which I have a personal interest. So I will step down.
Thank you, ma'am.
Everything that Leslie just said, but substitute wife instead of husband.
Fair enough. Thank you, Chuck. Let's see here. Arnie, proceed. Thank you.
Good evening to you all. We do have a request for a conditional use permit. Washington and Lee is located in an institutional overlay district, and medically related facilities are a permitted use in the institutional district. Permitted uses that have not been approved as part of a master plan require a conditional use permit. Proposed Lindley Center for Student Wellness was not included on the W&L campus master plan that was approved by you all last summer. The applicant therefore requests a conditional use permit for that medically related facility. The Planning Commission held a public hearing on the 14th of December and unanimously recommended approval. If I could get you to look at the first page of your staff report, you will notice the location map there, the little stars indicating where the proposed Lindley Center for Student Health and Wellness is proposed to be located. So if you're traveling out East Denny Circle, it's just past the tennis courts on the left-hand side. And that is currently an undeveloped portion of the campus. And if you look on the second page of the staff report, there is a map on that upper portion, and that is largely included to sort of indicate how centrally located this particular site is to the campus. And the photograph there on the lower level just shows you a little bit of elevation change and just how undeveloped this particular section is. The city is being requested to evaluate the proposed medically related use, and I've underlined use there because the use comes first, and then later there will be a site plan that goes to the Planning Commission, as well as an entrance corridor review for design review. So at this point, we're really focused on the use. As with all conditional use permits, we have listed on the bottom of that page 3 of the staff report the conditions of issuance that you see for each and every conditional use permit. So A, B, C, and D. And then for what it's worth, I also put my 2 cents in as to whether the proposal meets those requirements or not. Staff does note that if there are any conditions that are deemed necessary in the public interest, those conditions must be reasonably and proportionally related to the impact resulting from the proposed medically related use. Staff, largely because this is central to campus and impacts are not really expected in the general public, staff did not make any recommendations for conditions, and neither did the planning commission. So that's all I have for comments. Other than to add, we have had no folks call, no written comments, no questions about this particular proposal at all. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Arnie. Members of council have any questions? Ms. Alexander.
This might have more to do with the site plan, but I'm just going to ask the question anyway. Was there any consideration in regard to EMS being able to access the building there on the campus in the event of an emergency?
Yes, ma'am. I think that's part, Hugh can explain in more detail, but I think that's why this location was chosen, so that EMS could reach. We also sent out to our design review committee this particular proposal, and the comments that we got back from Trent, the fire marshal, was specifically about access, and that will happen at the site plan review. But they are well aware of the requirements and that there will need to be some off-street space dedicated to pick up and drop off for the ambulance.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions? Thank you, Arnie. At this time, I'd like to open the public hearing and ask if there's anyone who would like to speak to this topic related to Washington Lee Student Wellness Center on the west side of East Tenney Circle across from the Woods Creek Apartments. Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing at 7:07 and ask for council's consideration.
Move to approve conditional use permit number CUP 2024-01 to allow a health and counseling center on the west side of East Denny Circle across from the Woods Creek Apartments.
Okay.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Mr. Betts.
Aye.
Mr. Alligood.
Aye.
Ms. Alexander.
Aye.
That motion carries unanimously. Thank you all very much. And members of council can return to the dais as you do. Hugh, thank you for bringing this forward, and excited for the progress making and the continued collaboration for placement of buildings and success for Washington Lee. Terrific. Next item on the agenda is December 21 minutes prepared by Janie. Are there any objections to approving those as presented? Hearing none, they are approved. Next items is citizens' remarks and comments. Thank you, sir. Although it's requested that prior notification be given to the city manager or mayor by individuals wishing to address the council, public comments are always welcome. I ask that you sign up prior to a meeting and you be recognized during citizens' remark section in council's agenda. And during this agenda item, I ask these guidelines be followed, that you please stand at the podium, state your name and address, actually state your name and if you are a resident of the city of Lexington, for the record. Make your comments to the council as a whole. We ask that you be brief but state your position and provide facts. Provide written statements and or supporting materials to the clerk for distribution to the council and the city manager. Debate is prohibited, and we ask that you speak clearly as we want to hear what you have to say. Council will hear everyone that wishes to speak on a subject, and discussion will be limited to 3 minutes unless modification or not a lot of speakers. Time cannot be transferred to another speaker. If you represent a group, you may wish to identify other members of your group who are in attendance And I remind us all that meetings of the city council are formal proceedings and recorded on audio tape. And with that, I'd like to invite Kathy Waters to join us at the podium. Kathy, welcome.
Evening, Happy New Year.
Please pull that microphone down so we can hear you loud and proud.
Is this all right?
Perfect.
Very
Thank you.
good. I would like to ask that the city consider plastic recycling for the new year. I've talked to Mr. Smith about this. And if there's anything the city can do to bring it back. I know that there's a cost problem. I think I heard 4 years ago that maybe there was a look-see to see what it would cost. I'd ask that the city maybe look at it again, see what's out there. Maybe we could, 1 or 2 plastic would be my request anymore. Film is easy. Everybody can, seems to find a place to put the film in the plastic bags, but 1 and 2s, we've got a shed full of it. I just breaks my heart to put it into the trash. So if there's anything the city could do about it, appreciate it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Kathy. And thanks for stockpiling those 1 and 2 plastics. And staff will certainly take a look and ask the city manager to follow up with you regarding his efforts to find out where the city stands on that programming. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is unfinished business, and we have the discussion of the ADU. I think we're preparing for a work session or presentation at a future meeting.
Mr. Mayor, the city attorney and I have discussed it as well as Mr. Glazer, and would like to suggest the week of the 15th. There are 3 dates that we are available. The 15th, which is a holiday, a Monday, the 17th, a Wednesday, and the 19th, a Friday. So I don't know if any of those dates appeal more than others. And certainly Friday and a holiday, none of us want to be here, but I would certainly like to get this out of the way so we could move it forward. Suggesting 5 o'clock, so you leave work, come here for an hour and 15 minutes and be gone, home and having dinner.
So just 16th or 17th?
15th, 17th, or 19th, not the 16th.
So the 17th would be preferable, I think, for most. Keep in mind, we'll be meeting on the 18th as well. But 17th at 5 p.m. Any objection? Okay.
17 at 5, yeah.
15. Any possibility to meet before council meeting? On the 18th?
Do we have a work session planned on the 18th?
I can do 7 o'clock.
Okay. Yes, no?
On the 18th, our attorney is not available, so
Okay.
that would not work in this case.
Sure.
And it's important that we have Mr. Carroll present because this is a little more complicated than most of the activities we've done when it comes to amending ordinances.
Yep.
So I heard Mr. Allagood say the 17th is good.
Oh, he has a conflict unless it's at 7 o'clock.
Works for me.
17th at 7. Going once, twice.
Any objection to 7 o'clock on the 17th?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, council members. We'll get an agenda out to you then.
And that'll be a work session on the ADUs. Very good. Thank you. Boards and commissions, Blue Ridge Resource Authority.
Blue Ridge Resource Authority, Director Dudley is starting his work on the CIP and budgeting process. That's all I have.
Very good. Be meeting on a Monday, the 8th at 4:30 right here. Main Street, Lexington, Mr. Smith.
Calculating still the exact number we sold, Main Street Lexington has sold over $57,000 in gift certificates last year. That's money that stays in our local economy. 94 Lex Lotto cards were turned in, the biggest number of participants ever. The $1,000 shopping spree winner will be announced tomorrow. And we had great crowds for all of our holiday events and a record turnout for Jingle Bell Run that I told you about last meeting. And Main Street is working on some exciting projects for 2024. That's all I have. Any questions?
Thank you, sir. Planning Commission, Ms. Strawn.
No report.
Regional Tourism Board, Mr. Betts.
No report.
Raro is Mr. Ziegler, and I'm not aware of any report, except the children are busy and looking forward to a fun winter. Threshold, Ms. Alexander.
No report.
Maury Service Authority, Mr. Alligood.
No report.
Well, thank you all. For my report, wanted to indicate, we had the presentation from the city manager and staff about a potential dog park on McCorkle Drive. And believe it was a sense of council, consensus of council to hear from the public. And I wanted to make that a opportunity for public input on our February 1st regarding the presentation on the dog park on that specific location. So I'm hopeful that our friends in the media will advertise that or have an article on that, and plan to have that on the February 1st agenda. Also, by way of city manager search, I had sent you information on adjustment for a salary range. No one spoke out in opposition, and so I approved with Baker Tilly to add that to the brochure and profile, and that should be going out to all channels starting tomorrow. And stay tuned for our next meeting. I think it will be in February for review of applications. And lastly, as a reminder, the economic interest forms are due to Janie. Please make a point to get those in early and make her job easier. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to the city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll add a little item from the Planning Commission that Ms. Strawn did not add, that the annual report from the Planning Commission will be on our next agenda. So you'll be able to hear about what they've accomplished over the last year and what their goals ahead may be, as I understand. So like to also comment on the new DSS facility plans. This county administrator, DSS staff, and myself sat down, and we've been reviewing those plans with the architect and again with the DSS staff. No date has been placed when the plans would be completed. The DSS board will be reviewing those plans at their meeting on January 17th. Revenue report. We don't have the monthly revenue report out yet, but some good news that earlier this week, I had the pleasure to accept a check from Spencer Suter, the county administrator, for $2,396,989. That was our revenue sharing check from the county, our friends and partners. And that's $77,539 above the budgeted amount. So we're doing well. While not yet finalized, as I said, the monthly report for December will show some alarming changes. Both the revenues for our meals tax and lodging tax are down dramatically, but that's not because business was down. The checks were in the mail. The post office has not delivered them yet. So approximately half of the payments that we normally receive have not come in to date. But we've checked, and these folks are very reliable, and they've always sent their checks, and those we've asked about it, they've mailed the checks. So we'll probably then have a spike in February when we report the January revenues, unless the January checks are also delayed, and we'll hope not, of course. Planning and inspection update. The calendar year is the reporting period for planning and inspection. So the entire year of 2023 is now completed, and all the activities for the most part are up. Administrative activity is up from 603 to 616 activities. Development activities are up from 53 to 58. Permit fees are up from $140,301 to $481,831. So very significant increase in permit fees. And value of improvements is up from $20,020,385 to $59,626,528. And most of that, even though it's a very big number, is non-taxable, but it still represents a significant investment in our community, and it's very beneficial. On an equally positive trend, however, required enforcement activity is down from 1,134 to 998 for the current year. And data reporting is sometimes dull and sometimes not very meaningful to people. But I want to say that I think this really reflects the really fantastic effort, dedication of our planning and inspection staff at keeping on top of all the activities that come in throughout the year. And so we have good results. Just wanted to share that with you. Updates from the police department. The department recently established a safe exchange zone in the parking lot between City Hall and the police department. And as a result of some ARPA grant money that the department applied for, there will be cameras placed in that area that will be focused on a specific area in the parking lot, so exchanges can take place. Exchanges being if somebody's exchanging property, or if there's a child custody issue and one parent has to exchange the child with another parent, it's a safe zone where you have cameras 24/7, and the police department will then, of course, monitor those cameras and be available should something occur. They will not participate in the exchange unless it's absolutely necessary, but it will be monitored. So just a little extra service to individuals who may need something a little bit unique in that regard. Over several years, we've heard about trucks. I know you all have, getting hung up in city streets on utility poles, street signs, tree limbs, etc. One of the most difficult streets recently that has occurred several times is South Randolph Street. And the police department working with Public Works is going to be putting in some signage to try and keep truckers out of that area, talking about over the road tractor trailers, not delivery trucks, not your moving vans, etc. And although when we have special events, we try and keep trucks out of town, invariably it seems there are 2 or 3 that wander through and try and take a shortcut and get lost on some streets where there is no shortcut. So South Randolph Street, we've had a number of issues and incidents in the last 6 to 12 months. And so we'll put some signage there and just try and keep people out. Mr. Smith, they come off of Nelson Street and they think they're going to go south and get out of town. And when they hit the cemetery, they realize there's nowhere to go. The police department has backed out several tractor trailers because once you get there, you're not turning around.
Thank you for reading my mind.
Okay. Fire department update. Sometimes we overlook what our department responds to, and natural gas leaks, if you might recall, they've responded to a number of those over the last several months. And those are really very dangerous. They're not only dangerous because there's the risk of explosion, but it affects people's health if there's prolonged exposure to natural gas. And, you know, it's been very, I think, useful for those residents who have a natural gas leak to be able to rely on the fire department to come in, ventilate that, identify where the leak is, help them to understand, you know, how that can be prevented in the future. And a dangerous situation then is averted. So just wanted to bring that to your attention that we sometimes fail to think about. It's not just blazing buildings on fire. It's some of those little issues where we really avert, or the fire department averts some real potentially dangerous situations. The department, on a more positive note, perhaps, began a 3-day training session in CPR and first aid for the Washington Lee faculty and staff. Chief Dickerson is participating in the search for a new operational medical director that serves Buena Vista, Rockbridge County, and the city. Believe it or not, I am done, so I'll make it quick as well. Any questions?
Any questions for the city manager? Ms. Alexander?
I have one. Will the police department be putting out a story or something about the safe exchange?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for the question. It'll be on the city website. I believe the media is planning to interview the chief, and we're putting it in the paper as well,
Great.
press releases.
Yeah. There's already one article, I think, out of the Lynchburg outlet
Okay.
I saw earlier today.
Good to hear.
Very good. City attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple items I've been working on. I have revised or prepared an amendment to Jim's contract as requested at the last meeting. That'll be circulated, I think, for action at the next meeting. Jim and I have worked together on the contract for the architectural and engineering firm that's doing the DSS work, and that's progressing along. My office has helped the commissioner, I believe, with the contract that'll be coming out back to you to be signed here shortly. And then we continue to deal with some FOIA issues and some personnel issues. That's actually over in the school system. on an ongoing basis, just always dealing with little things. So just work in progress, always something going on. So happy to answer any questions, but nothing earth shattering.
Any questions from council? Very good. Thank you all for the positive work session earlier today. Thought that went well and have us getting started on the right foot for the coming year. Don't forget tomorrow at 7:15 is the chamber breakfast, State of the Community. And I will impart to you a quote from Aristotle. Happiness is found in the golden middle of the two extremes. With the world is today, hope that we can find happiness in the middle, working together and collaborating and having a successful 2024. Not aware of any other business to come before City Council. Unless there's an objection, we will stand adjourned. Thank you all very much.